Welcome to Edot, Gdot and Friends. My name is Elden, Killian, and today we are presenting games that I have played 20 times. Carcassonne, I don't know. My guest today is the illustrious Dr. Tayte Campbell.
Hello.
That's it?
That's it. It's good to be with you today.
That's right. Tayte here is one of my newer friends. We've done for a couple years? Year and a half?
Year and a half is when I
something
moved
like
here.
that. And he is one of the most useful doctors I know. Does very important work in the field of, what is it again?
Microbial ecology.
Oh, okay. So like saving people from heart attacks and stuff like that? Or
no. My wife calls me a doctor, but not the useful kind.
Not the useful kind. So you work at the National Lab?
Yep, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory.
Can you talk about the work that you do, or is it classified?
Have you ever seen the show Stranger Things?
Yes.
With the DOE laboratory?
Uh-huh.
PNNL is a DOE laboratory,
Okay.
so it's exactly like that TV show.
Oh, you have demigorgons?
Maybe.
If you did, could you talk about it?
I can neither confirm nor deny that. No,
Okay.
I mostly work with soil bacteria, studying
Okay.
how bacteria interact in the soil and how they move nutrients through the soil.
Interesting.
It's the usual reaction.
Yeah. So, what got you into that field? It's interesting.
Long story. The short version is I wanted to work in science, and I wanted to do something where I could work out in the field collecting samples and then doing something in the laboratory working on those samples. And this was a nice mix of both of those.
How's that working out for you?
Not as great, not as much field work as I was hoping for, honestly. But
Okay.
I have gone on some trips in the past.
Yeah. And you have maybe the most interesting doctoral thesis, I think, of all time.
We
talk about that.
Studied the gut microbiome of humans and compared them to the gut microbiomes of chimpanzees and gorillas.
And how did you check that gut biome? Were you like getting needles and like poking in their stomachs and stuff? Or
we used their feces. So we collected stool samples.
Okay.
And extracted the DNA directly from the poop.
Ate poop.
Somebody's got to do it.
Doctor ate poop. All right. Anyway, so what's your gaming pedigree? Your credentials here?
So I really got into like the heavier type of board games around 8 to 10 years ago, probably.
Okay.
I like most games. I like the games that are more about strategy than luck, but it's okay. I'm not one of those diehard ones that says like if there's any luck at all involved, then they hate the games or whatever.
Right.
I'm fine with a little bit of luck and not super intense.
If you had to pick a all-time favorite game, what are we looking at?
I really like. Actually, Carcassonne is one of my favorites.
Okay.
I really
Spoiler
like.
alert.
Yes. I really like Railways of the World as well as one of my favorites.
Okay. All right. I knew there was a reason I liked you. Okay. Interesting. What got you into board games? Like, do you have like a friend or something that introduced you, or what got you there?
I think the main thing is my wife's brother. So my brother-in-law.
Okay.
We lived near him at the time, and we would have game nights over at his house like every week or so.
Fun.
We had a big group that would play Railways of the World. And
when you were like a kid growing up, like what did your family do for fun?
I mean, we played the classic ones like
Okay.
Risk and Monopoly and all that, but I didn't really get into like the more strategy games until much later.
Were you ever like a Magic the Gathering player, or?
Off and on. It was something my friends really got into, and I got into it so I could play with them.
Okay,
but
interesting. See, I never did. I've played a few times, but anyway, I've talked about it before. It's not interesting, but I know a lot of people. That's sort of like they're like a little window into gaming, and then for whatever reason, Magic goes away in their lives, and they kind of adopt other stuff. Like that's a common thing. Not for everybody, but
I think
I've heard it enough times that it's a thing.
Yeah. I think my real intro was Settlers of Catan.
Okay.
Which is
everyone's
one of the more popular, like more strategy-based games.
For sure. All right. So anyway, today we're talking about Carcassonne, which is, in the gaming hobby world, I would say like the holy trinity of like gateway games, like games that like get people into the hobby. It's Settlers of Catan, Carcassonne, Ticket to Ride. Like, I think if you said those three games, most people are like, yeah. I played one of those. That was my first game, or like early on, that was one of their first games. And anyway, so about the game. So one of the nice things about the game, well, I guess first we talk about who designed it. It's a German designer named Klaus-Jürgen Red. I assume that's how it's said. Do you speak German at all? No.
Nope.
Anyway, if I said your name wrong, I'm sorry. You made a great game. That's your consolation. But it was published in 2000 by Hans im Gluck. My copy, Rio Grande Games, is the one that I have, and they were the American publisher for a long time. I believe Z-Man, who was bought by Asmodee, owns it now. So I don't know. Whatever. I don't have a new copy. So on BGG, this is ranked as the 181st best game overall. I remember 10 years ago when I first got on BGG, this was easily in the top 100 somewhere. So it's slipped over time, which is not surprising, but most games slip over time. It's rated a 7.4, which, pretty decent rating. That's like the average. I rank it number 69 when I ranked every single one of the games I'd played last October, which was like 670. So it was like in the top 10%-ish.
It's a good ranking.
Yeah. Anyway, I've played the game 52 times officially. There's probably a few more in there that before I started keeping count, but about 52. How many times have you played it?
This is one of the games I own, of like
Okay.
the 15 or so games that I own. So I have played it a lot.
Okay.
Probably around 20, 25 times.
Okay. Cool. Have you played it recently?
No. It's probably been, like 6 months or so. So
yeah, we
fairly
played
recently.
it online. When was that? That was the last time I actually played it. Was when we played it on Board Game Arena. Do you remember that?
Did we play the River expansion?
I think we did with the River expansion.
Okay.
That was the last time I played.
That might have been my last time as
well. So I haven't played my physical copy for a while, but
my wife's not a huge fan, so
does it create marital discord?
No, she just won't play it as much as I would like, so it doesn't get pulled out as much.
Yeah, it was actually it was game probably officially game 2 of my personal collection. Not when I started collecting hobby games. Probably like 1A or 1B. I got 3 games for Christmas that year. I bought it myself though. Just the way I do Christmas. So I bought Carcassonne, St. Petersburg, and I found a thrift copy of Acquire for $2, which is up here. And that was my Christmas that year. And so I played a lot of Carcassonne. In St. Petersburg, I actually really, really like St. Petersburg. It'll be in this series at some point, I'm sure. But
I've never played those other two.
Yeah, I played Acquire a few times. The problem with my copy of Acquire, I found it, and then I found out it's like a super rare, like first edition. Like in the first edition, like there's a rare version of it, and I have that one. And so I kind of feel weird playing it.
It's fair.
It's kind of beat up though, so it probably doesn't have a whole lot of collector's value. But it's like, and I found it for $2 at a thrift store. So
gotcha.
I don't know. It's a pretty good game though. I need to get a different copy of it so I can play it more often. But anyway, this is a super popular game. It sold millions upon millions of copies. It compared to some of the other games I've talked about in this series, it hasn't probably won as many awards as you'd probably think, but it did win the German Game of the Year 2001, the Spiel des Jahres. It won the Deutscher Spielpreis, which is like the game of the convention, I think, or I don't know. I actually don't know much about the award. And it won a few other ones. It won an award in like 2012 from Brazil. So 12 years after the fact, somebody's giving it awards.
That's probably about the time I was introduced.
Right. But yeah. Anyway, just it's a bit. So it was published in 2000. So this 21 years.
Wow.
Has some staying power. Anyway, the game is played. 1, you draw a tile. 2, complain about the tile. 3, place the tile, and then you place a meeple / score or something, and I think this is the appeal of the game. Super simple. You're picking up a tile, you're placing a tile. I don't know how you play. We for the last 8 years or whatever, I've played where you draw your tile at the end of your turn, so you have till it comes back around to you, so you can look at it and think about it and curse when other people block the thing that you want to do. And but I do find it helps. At least you have a general idea of what you can do on your turn. By the time it comes around to you, I like that. But
I don't play that way, but I think I should play that way.
Right.
I don't know. The people I play with generally play quickly, so it's not usually a big deal.
I think even I don't think it was so much about playing quickly. I think it was just so you have something to think about in that little time while you're waiting. Yeah. I know. I like it that way. The hard part is people forget to take their tile, and then I forgot to take my tile.
That messes with fate because you get them out of order.
I know, fate. Anyway, super simple rules. So you place a tile, and then all the tiles have features on them, and then you place them somewhere on the tile within that feature, and hopefully you score it. You're trying to make big cities, trying to make long roads, trying to make a big farm that connects the cities that scores you points. How do you score your farms?
Just want to explain it, or how do I do it personally? Because I do it the correct way.
What's the rule that you? Because this is a little bit.
Is there controversy?
There's actually 2 versions of the rules, and depending on when you learn the game, like what game you have, you might have a different set of rules.
I did not know this.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way I score it is whatever cities your farm is touching, you get 3 points for every completed city that your farm is touching.
Yeah, and that's the copy I have has that rule in it. I was playing on somebody else's copy, and they were explaining it differently. I was like, that's not right. And I looked up, and I think the older version, I can't remember exactly how it is, but it's a little more complicated in how it works. But I don't know. I don't know what people prefer. I've always do the way that's in my rule book because it's the rule book I have. So
this is news to me. I didn't know there was another option,
and I've never had any complaints about it. And maybe that's the better version. I don't know, but interesting. But do you remember the very first time you played the game?
I remember an early time that I played the game. I don't know if it was necessarily the first.
Was it your copy or was it a friend's?
It was a friend's copy.
Okay.
And I think we played like the Tower expansion.
Okay.
Which it has a different rule where if you play the tower, then you can remove meeples around the tower. So there's a little bit more strategy there, but not something that we used a lot.
Is it the one that has a big cardboard thing?
I think so.
Okay.
There's these different tower tiles, and you can just place them wherever.
Okay.
And then you remove other people's meeples. And I think it was a lot of our first times playing, so that was just a strategy that didn't really happen that much because we were trying to figure out what else was going on. Yeah,
my first time playing, I think the guy I played it with, Jared, he's actually the guy who kind of got me into hobby games. This is one of the first games we played together. And he had that expansion because I think it has the big cardboard tower thing with it. Does that sound right?
It does sound familiar.
But he just used it to hold the tiles. So I think we just played the base set game, you know. And I really liked it. I don't know if I loved it that first play. It was fun though. It definitely was fun. And when I was looking for a game to buy, I was walking around the game store, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I played that game. It was pretty fun." And anyway, it was cheap enough that I really wanted to get 2 games, and so I kind of had hit that price point. I think it was like $30. I had like $70 or whatever to spend. So anyway, it worked out.
I don't remember when I bought my copy. but it was probably like the same idea. Like, oh, this was fun to play, and it's not a super expensive game. So.
Right. So anyway, I haven't regretted it, not for one bit. But what makes you come back to the game? Like, played it 20-something times. Why did that happen?
So, it's a good game to play. It's a good intro game, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So whenever I play with people that aren't into board games, it's a simple game to get them interested. Not too complicated. And then there is a little bit of luck, which I find annoying. Like, if you get the monasteries, I feel like you are more likely to win.
Okay.
But it's simple. You pick your tile, you place your meeple on that tile.
Yeah.
But then there's also some strategy where, like, you try and share cities with other people. Like, if they're getting a huge city going, then you can't build directly on their city. You have to build next to it and then try and connect the cities or the farms. And so, like, that, like, sneaky aspect of it and, like, having to pay attention to what other people are doing is what makes it more interesting for me.
For sure. The reason I played it so much was, one, it was the first game I had, so we played it a lot. And then the other thing is, it's just a good game. Like, a lot of my family members will play it with me. Like, some of my, like, siblings and their spouses who aren't super into games. Like, they'll play Carcassonne. They won't play with a lot of the expansions. Like, whenever I try to sneak another expansion, they're like, no, I don't want any more rules. So I actually have a handful of expansions. I've never actually played some little ones, but so it gets played a lot, and I really enjoy it. But you talk about, like, the edging out thing, like trying to share things. The game I lost the worst. We're playing with a full set of people, 5 or 6 people, and everyone got in on this giant city except for me. And I was trying to. I was like, and like they were all colluding to, like, make this huge city, and every time I tried to horn in on it, someone would block me and, like, cut me off, and I don't know. I lost by like 50 points. It wasn't even. But even that was fun, though. It was a good story. So we've kind of talked about expansions a little bit. What expansions have you, or like variants, have you played?
So the only ones I've played are the Tower.
Okay.
Which I talked about a little bit earlier, and then the River.
Oh, okay. So just some little ones.
Yeah, the River doesn't really change the gameplay.
Yeah.
Much.
I've actually only played the River like once or twice. I think we played online, and I think I played it with the actual River one time. I remember I looked at it for a long time. For a long time, you couldn't find it. Like, it was super hard to find, and then, like, it was in the big box set. Then I couldn't justify buying the big box because I already had the game. And then I've kind of fallen out of buying expansions, and so it might be available now, but I don't know. I don't care anymore. I have too many other games taking up my time to worry about the River. And
I don't own any of the expansions, so that's never something that I've had to worry about introducing other people to. Yeah. Like, hey, do you want to do the expansion too?
So I actually have played with, like, the Traders and Builders. That's one I have. The Inn and Cathedrals, both of which I think are really good expansions. They add, like, stuff to the game, which makes it more interesting, I think. And one nice thing about them is, like, the Traders and Builders, sometimes I don't play with the whole expansion. It's not really modular, but you can just take certain parts of the expansion out, and you can just so I do the one where, like, it has this guy, so you, like, put the builder in your city, and the next time you add to that city, you get to take an extra turn.
Interesting.
And then so it just kind of goes on with that. I like that aspect of the game. I like trying to make that work. You also, like, put them on a road, and so when you add to that road, you get to take another turn. And so I don't know. I think that's fun. And, like, the Inn and Cathedrals is fun because it adds, like, some scoring dynamics. Like, it creates, like, these river or roads and, like, cities that can be worth a lot of points. But if you don't finish them, you don't even get, like, the half points. Like,
oh, wow.
So there's a little push-pull, like, there's a little, like, gambling. Or, like, if you pulled a certain tile late, you can add it to somebody else's city and just, oh, you get nothing now. You know? Which is a little mean.
Unfinishable.
It's a little mean, but it's all right.
It's all fair.
Nothing wrong with a little meanness.
All fair in the game, yeah.
But,
I have played an expansion where you have like a bigger meeple. That's worth 3
Oh yeah,
meeples.
That's in one of those.
I don't know which one it's in, but
Yeah, and I have that too. I like that. It makes like angling for like beating somebody out on like the farms and the cities a little more strategic.
But you only get the one, so you
only get the one.
Know when to play it.
Yeah, so that expansion's fun. Have you ever played any of like the offshoot games?
I didn't know there were offshoot
There's
games.
so many. There's actually, so I just looked this. There are 144 listed expansions on Board Game Geek. Wow. A lot of those I think are fan expansions, but a lot of them are not. A lot of them are official. And a bunch of them are small. Like they came out with a set of like, they're just little tiny square boxes that have like 5 or 6 tiles in them and like maybe some other pieces. And I have a bunch of those. And those are fun. You just kind of add them to the game. And they, like one of them, it's like roads and ferries. And they have these things. And you put a little piece. And then you can change like the roads. Like, so like which direction the roads are going. So like on that tile, so you can have a road connected to it, and then you can. But if you place next to it, you can move that ferry or whatever, and so the road ends and another road begins. Like it's I don't know.
That sounds.
It's an interesting thing. There's one like adds like gold that you're trying to collect, and there's a few other ones. I actually haven't played with all of those, but just because. I tried to bring them out, and it's like, you know.
That sounds fun though.
But there's like 6 of them. They're little mini ones. Those are fun. But like Hunters and Gatherers is like it's a full game by itself, and it's pretty similar, but not. It adds some rules. It adds like the scoring's slightly different. Like instead of roads, you're trying to collect fish on the river.
Okay. And
so you're trying to add fish to the river, and then if you're in control of that river, you can score a bunch of points. They have like these little huts that go on stuff. If you like, I don't know. There's some different rules. I know like there's one called The City that's super popular. People say it's great. I've never seen a copy of it in real life, I don't think, and so therefore I've never played it. But I've heard it's really good. Anyway, so many. And then they have like this whole like World Series. Like they have like an Amazon one, and they have like I think they have one called like Hill and Dell, and there's like one that's like set in the ocean, something like New Zealand or something. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of those, and then the newest thing that they're still coming out with, they have these map things, and they look interesting. But those the last couple of years they've started coming out with these little maps. So it's like a map of the United States with squares on it. So. And I don't know what the rule tweak is, but they look interesting. I've heard they're fun. But again, I'm anti-expansion. But if I knew somebody who owned one, I would try it.
Sounds like I know very little about Carcassonne Extended Universe.
And I know too much. But anyway, and I think that's just a testament to how popular the game is, right? That they just keep pumping out this stuff and people buy it. Like
20 years later,
yeah, they're not making it just to make it. Like it's going off the shelves for the most part, I think. There's a Star Wars one, which I think is just regular Carcassonne. I think all the tiles are analog to regular Carcassonne, but it has like a Star Wars motif to it.
Interesting.
I've never seen that, but interesting. Whatever. So, I don't know. I have a couple more slides here. What's the fun stuff? What's fun to you? We've kind of talked... Every time I get to this slide, like, we've kind of talked about all that stuff. But
I think the fun stuff, when me and my wife are just playing against each other, is usually there's either like one city that's just massive that we're fighting to take control of, because if you have more meeples in the city, you get all the points for it, and the other person gets none. But usually it's like a huge farm that we end up fighting over.
Yeah.
And then that's fun because we'll just be like going along, and then you're just a couple tiles away from the end, and then you look at the board really good one time. You're like, oh wait, you have 3 meeples on this? Where was this one hiding the whole time? And then you have to try and scramble because you only have 2, and you got to sneak another meeple onto that farm so you don't get destroyed.
Yeah. I meant to bring this up earlier. Fun fact about Carcassonne: they invented the meeple.
Yeah.
So, if I understand correctly, it was kind of the first game that has that kind of shaped guy. Somebody else named it the Meeple, but it's sort of been adopted and like officially they're the Meeple. But anyway, and that might be a lie. I just heard it on. I just read it on the internet.
It's got to be true.
So it's got to be true. I just had a lesson with my students about how not everything on the internet's true.
Hopefully they don't watch this.
Yeah. Anyway, what's the not so fun stuff?
Like I said before, there is a aspect of luck where if you get certain tiles, I feel like you're predisposed to winning. Like if you get the monasteries especially, because then you can... They kind of build together. Like if you get one monastery, you kind of want to put it by the other monasteries, and so you can just put all together and get a ton of points.
Yeah. Yeah. Never really thought about the monasteries so much. They are good tiles because they're good points, and you can get your guy back usually. Those are pretty good. The thing I don't like about the game is I have had some marital discord, having played Carcassonne, but it can be mean, a little meaner than I think I like in most games. It doesn't have to be, and it's probably just who you play with. But you're trying to carve out your little part of the world. You're trying to muscle out other people, and you can do some mean things either on purpose or not even really on purpose. Sometimes you just do things that end up being kind of mean. But
I don't think of it as a mean game. I think other games we have are meaner, but I can't think of them at the moment. So maybe that's why my wife hates it. Maybe she thinks it's a mean game, and I don't think it's a mean game.
Right.
So maybe that's why we have those differing takes on the game.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts?
I don't think so.
No, we said everything.
I think we covered it.
You had kind of spoiled earlier. You said this is probably one of your favorite games of all time. And like I said, it's my number 69 of all time, about top 10%. Like, and a lot of that's nostalgia. Like I have not played it very much lately. But I think it holds like a special like place in my collection. I'm never getting rid of it. like I am busting at the seams right now. I have this pile of games on the floor that I got to find a spot for, and I'm probably gonna have to get rid of some games. Carcassonne is not leaving, and I can't imagine it ever would. One, it's not that big of a box, but two, I think it is just an all-time great game that will always have a spot in my collection. And anyway,
I play a lot with like my parents.
Yeah,
and many people that aren't really into games, and it's an approachable one that I really enjoy to play with them. I don't have a big community of really hardcore gamers like you've curated over the years.
Well, I try to, but yeah. I have one last funny story. So like I said, I got my copy for Christmas, and I went over to my in-laws' house, and I was trying to teach them the game, and my sister-in-law had dropped a couple pieces on the floor. It wasn't being like, didn't do it on purpose or anything, but not on the floor. But nobody ever noticed. And then all of a sudden, like her mom's like, "Oh, what are you eating?" And the dog had eaten 2 of my pieces. 2 of my black meeples got eaten, and one of them got thrown away, and we couldn't find it. The other one is all chewed. So I have one that's kind of chewed up from a dog. And another one, for a long time, I just found this like piece of plastic thing. I don't even know what it was. It was like the end to something. Just did not look like a game piece. It was just a black something that I used that as my scoring token for black for a long time. But then I did the BGG secret like gift card exchange, and somebody had sent me a black meeple. It was actually done up like an ornament. I was like, "Oh, sweet!" I ripped the little string off. I was like, "Sweet, got my black, I got a full set."
Yeah, that's important because
that's my funny story.
If you have less meeples than everybody else, then you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that wraps up our time today, and so I guess I'll see all y'all's later. I really need to come up with a tagline.
Where? I'm making a YouTube video, Bev.